All right. All right. Excellent. Welcome, guys. And I think we've also had our US participants join. Rocky, is that you?
Yes, that's correct. I'm here.
All right. Excellent. Are you able to see my screen?
I am not.
Are you just on audio or?
Correct. I've connected dialing the US number.
Yeah. Okay. I don't know if you can see my screen now. Can you see it now?
Let me see.
All right, guys. So welcome everyone to the Kilimanjaro Info Session. So we have a number of people on this call. We have Emma from Spain. We have Preeti who's joining from London. We have Gosia. We have Rocky. And Rocky, not sure if you're with Reshma as well, or if you're alone. But lovely to have you guys on. If you'd like to share anything, ask anything, feel free to unmute yourself. This is very interactive. It is recorded. And we're recording this because we had an info session very recently at PwC, and there's a number of people that missed this out. So we would love for them to have a recap. So some of them may be joining midway through, or they will be following up on catch up. That said, I just wanted to recreate it for those of you guys that are interested, as well as our PwC folk. And we also have somebody who is from PwC who did this prior with us in 2014. That's Preeti. And I would love at some point as we go through this for her to share her experiences from it, what she thought or her inhibitions were prior to signing up, and really what the experience provided for her, and how it's altered her everything from her leadership, her confidence personally and professionally, and anything else that she gained out of her participation on this climb. So let's go right in. Those of you that haven't haven't got the details before, I'll just quick recap what we're doing. It's an 8-day leadership summit. Out of those 8 days, 7 is a climb, and 1 day is a day of reflection and gratitude. We'll be visiting a local school, being that we're partly fundraising for, and the village where a number of the trek and mountaineer lead guides come from. We're looking to get 25 leaders do this and join us on this summit. And we do have, as you've seen, people on this call as well from all over, but we have participants from Switzerland, from Spain, from Zambia, from the UK, and possibly from the US. In addition to Rocky who's joining in, there are a few others there that are on the fence trying to figure things out. It also does cross Thanksgiving in the US, which works for some and doesn't work for others, because it gives them additional, more leave time that they can take out, because there's a public holiday there anyway. But then they get to really have this Thanksgiving on a mountain, which will be one that they'll possibly never forget, and it will be conversations for many Thanksgivings after. So what we want to do is we really want people to really discover what we call leadership is. And what I mean by that is when I did this mountain in 2014, to me it was much like just a physical feat, a physical challenge, a kind of like, I want to be able to do it to show people I can. And I've always had this view that, well, surely I've seen people do it in their 60s and 70s and 80s. And I thought, if they can do it, I'm sure I can. It really can't be something that is going to break down or kill a person that people don't make it. And I started looking at the statistics, and I had a very analytical mind there. And something I discovered from leadership is these great things only ever happen when we throw our hat over the wall. It's about the only way the greatest things in our life have ever happened, from signing up to studying a particular degree or qualification, to signing up to a job, to committing into a marriage or a relationship or a partnership by proposing. And after that commitment, we then figure out what happens after. What happens is we step up. We step up to fill the space where we've given our word to. So I signed up to this in 2014 almost as a joke because a friend of mine was doing it, and I thought this is not going to grow legs and it's going to collapse. This project he was doing to fundraise for conservation. He's very passionate about it, and so he asked me, "Hey, would you join me? I want you and this one other person to join. Three of us will do Kilimanjaro and we'll raise £5,000." And I just thought, wow, what is it like, three people on a mountain? And I'm like, okay, this guy, he was doing a leadership program that I recommended him to do. And so because he invited me to join him, I didn't want to kind of flag my weakness or my concern. And I thought, yeah, sure, we'll do it. And I just said yes, thinking this thing will collapse after a few weeks of seeing that it's not an easy feat. Anyway, we started sharing about it. He asked me to design the logo for it and promote flyers, and we started doing that. And as the more we spoke about it to people, the more people were interested. And then a lot of my wife's friends, a lot of the ladies in our circle started signing up. And I thought, oh damn, this thing is really growing legs and it's happening. And that was, to me, really insightful experience in what leadership entails. It really showed me that if you guys are up to or creating anything in your life, it will always happen whereby we say, this is what we're doing, and you'll find a number of people show up and step up to it, and a number of people don't. That's the ordinariness and the extraordinariness of us as human beings. But knowing how that pattern shows up, we get to speak to people's greatness, and we get to act and operate and create our and others' leadership, despite of all the inverted commas busyness of life that we have. Right? We're always ever busy. We always have either money, time, or someone's permission holding us back from doing the greatest things that we want to do in this world. And yet you find that that's a life I found I was living where I reacted to life. I would go to social events and parties and dinners and weddings, and my life and the events inside of it were molded around what I got invited to. And seldom were there things whereby we get to stand for something, we get to initiate something, we get to launch something, and invite people to step up in their life. And that's really, what I got out of this experience of the whole mountain experience of gathering people to do it. We then ended up with 22 people signed up, and we raised £17,000. So we were really blown away and humbled by that experience. And this time I'm really doing it because I know everyone that says I'm in or I want to do it, but whatever that but is, I'm committed to working with you to empower you so that you transform what your but is, so you get your but out the way. Because life is going to pass you by, and my greatest point in getting that was when we came down after our last climb. We'd met an elderly uncle of ours. He's actually my brother's father-in-law, and he was in his early 70s, and he was telling me that he had wanted to do this climb. They almost did it. They were in Moshi about 35 years earlier, and he says we had that week free. We were about to do the climb, and for whatever reason, the last minute we said, you know what, let's pass. Let's go and visit this person and that person and that person, and we'll come back and do the mountain later. And it was now 38 years later, and they still hadn't done Kilimanjaro. And now his health wasn't in the greatest shape, and his confidence as a result was impacted. So it really got present to that, wow, if I didn't leap and do that in 2014, I probably never would have. And after we did that, we had a wide range of friends saying, I want to do it too. How'd you do it? When can I do it? Let's do it next year. And so we connect them with the ground operators and this person and that person. And as they try to pull it, many of them, and nobody of those people that said we will be doing this next year or the year after eventually went on to do it, because it isn't a simple feat. It really requires a lot of coordination and organization, mental and physical prep. And really that's what we're providing as FITBANKER. So let's crack right in. And I'd love for you guys to ask any questions that you'd like to know. And anything else that you'd love to share or concerns that you have that we can support you with, feel free to share that as well. So Kili, as you know, is the world's highest single standing mountain, Mount Everest is the highest peak in the world, but it's a range of mountains. Kilimanjaro is one single volcano. It is the most beautiful piece. You can see it there in the background. We're going to get up to an altitude of 19,340 feet. To put that into context, aeroplanes fly at 30,000 feet. So we're saying 2/3 up to where aeroplanes fly at. We're going to have also a day of arrival and a day of departure. So 8 days for the summit and 1 day before, 1 day after. We'll also have an optional 5 more days on safari, and I can talk to you about that when we, when we get there. If there's something that you want to share or invite somebody and for us to see it on social media, use the hashtag Climax with us. Feel free to share if you choose to sign up that you're doing this or thinking about it, and you might want to invite any friends or family. So those of you that don't know about us, a little bit about us, I'll very quickly go over it. I used to be a fat banker in the city, and after a health scare, I ended up hospitalized and decided to transform my health, and so I did. And 70 pounds later, the dude on the right emerged, and it led to a flurry of people reaching out and asking, how did you do this? What did you do? Can you coach me? What do I eat? How do I train? And that was the birth of FITBANKER. And what we do is we provide online health transformation coaching. We've transformed a couple hundreds of lives. These are photos of some of the participants. This is what Guy looks like before and after. At the start, he has little confidence in what he can accomplish or achieve. This is Rebecca Falk. She's somebody on a vegan plan, lost 15 kilos. These are 90-day programs we do. Most of these are within 90 days. A couple of them, they may have continued to lose weight after that. These are who I call the fit doctors. These are a couple of doctors from the US. They're based in Florida. And they used to do this annual drive campaign talking about men's health, driving across the US in their Tesla. And a mutual friend said, they were coming to London for a TED talk. And they said, you got to go and meet this guy called the Fit Banker. And I'm not the Fit Banker. The Fit Banker is the name of the company, but somehow people refer to me as that. I trust you guys can see the screen, and I'm sharing the slides. Yeah, I hope it's not frozen. Okay,
we can see them, Ronnie.
All right, perfect. Okay, so they basically came over. We met up for dinner. I explained to them the science of our program, and they started implementing it. They suddenly had a lot of results within 2-3 weeks. And the following January, they signed up to our challenge. Dr. Sijo on the left, he lost about 53 pounds, and Jamin on the right, 30-something pounds. And these guys are what I would call celebrity doctors. They're urologists, and they're often on Fox News. And I'm very proud to say that they participated in our program. They got these amazing results, and now they get to do their same drive, but they actually get to look the piece. They get to be health and actually live it on a daily basis. And you find there's a lot of people in the medical profession, they spend and stress their body in the service of others, but that's quite distinct from being a leader where you live by example. And my commitment is, as FitBankers, we develop leaders. And after having transformed all these lives, we've had a lot of people come to us from, it says 15 countries now, actually we've got from our 16th country, person signed up from Luxembourg, a partner with KPMG, for those of you listening from PwC, hint, hint. And our focus has been and always will be on health. So we're not about body image. We have zero judgment policy inside of our program for our team and participants, but we focus on health. And I say that in that we've reversed people who've been pre-diabetic or type 2 diabetic, reversing that. We've had people that have high cholesterol, high BP, reversing that. We've had a lot of women and men, young couples struggling with conception and fertility issues have easily transform and have healthy pregnancies, get pregnant, have healthy pregnancies, and have healthy babies. We've had mums who've been told they cannot conceive naturally. They've had to go the IVF route. And after doing the program, because they thought they couldn't conceive naturally, they've accidentally are now expecting, which is just amazing, awesome news. So there have been a host of other breakthroughs around confidence, around career, around relationships. And it's all because our health is really integrated, or it's just a reflection or a scorecard of how we're doing in all other areas. Since then, we have all these people with new energy, new strength, and new body saying, what can we do? And so we introduced treks, we introduced retreats, and now introducing leadership summits through Adventure. And Kilimanjaro is one of the big ones that we're doing, and we're putting in a lot of effort, and we're bringing in a great team to make sure every participant has a phenomenal experience. Everyone will have a phenomenal experience based on themselves participating as a team member of others, and everyone is coming to get a great experience. But also, we're actually putting together a good leadership team. And I'm going to talk very briefly about that as well. So we're doing this for two charities. We're doing this to fundraise for Able Child Africa. And Able Child Africa, you can have a look at their website. They're a phenomenal organization. They provide education, training, tools, and resources for a number of schools and charities and organizations in Central and East Africa that are that support people with physical or mental disabilities, whether you're blind or on wheelchair or or any other disability, physical or mental. They get to provide training for these schools, resources, tools, equipment that's needed that cannot be afforded there. And because they also work in Tanzania, and that's where we're doing this climb, we wanted something close to our experience, and so we're fundraising for them. We've been fundraising for them as FITBANKER for a while, because while we celebrate our per se able bodies, we want to be very inclusive and make sure that we are contribution to everyone. The second charity is called Moving Mountains. This Moving Mountains is a charity that's actually founded by somebody we have joining us on the summit. So his name is Gavin Bate, and he is the trustee of this charity, but he's the founder of the tour operator that we're using. And he is he'll be doing it the 54th time. Now, the last time he did this was in 2014 with us, and again on special request, he's joining to come with us. He's had a number of babies in between, or expecting in between, and as a result, as a new dad, it's not easy for him to keep going out there. But he is joining us now specifically on this time. He also lectures on leadership and on mountain climbing. And he is, he lectures globally. So I think yesterday he was in Switzerland, if I'm not mistaken, lecturing. He's based in the UK, and he's going to be, he's going to be with us on this mountain because we are creating an exceptional experience. So there are added costs to that to have him and one of my teammates, Emma, who's in Spain, join, and myself, just so that we can give everybody this really seamless experience. And as it's a first year, we've also priced it in such a manner to promote numbers for this year. We've been quite prudent with our pricing, and next year we will probably give the full pricing that it deserves. To put into context, a competitor does similar, and it's $10,000, and theirs is about 1 day less than what we do. So, we are putting in quite a lot of extra. All right, so this is what we did in 2014. It was a charity for conservation, and this is the one I said we started off as 3 with the intention of 3 people, and we ended up being 22 people that took on the mountain. And out of 22, 21 summited. Out of those 21, one of them was what we call, they reached the first summit, which is called Stellar Point. So they reached the rim of the crater, crater at the top, but they didn't get to the final high point. But that anyway counts as a summit. And we had one person had to come down on day 4 because she had a lot of bad migraines and cerebral edema, which could have been cerebral edema. And so she had to be, she chose to come back down. Okay. That said, one of the people we had, and some of the people we had there were all from, different organizations, different professions, different age groups. We had people as young as 18 and as old as 37. And this time we have, again, a wider age range. So we have, people in their 40s, and we have somebody who was 13-year-old was considering coming. We're not sure if they're going to make it now. They might be unlikely now. But just want to share, from that experience in 2014, we have in this photo, this was us summiting. You can see me. I was the big guy then when I did it. I'm the guy at the bottom here with the big Manchester United. But there's this young lady here. I think that's her. Is that the one with the tongue out? I'm not sure.
No, I'm further to the left.
Further to the left.
Head.
Oh, next to okay, I see that behind Ashish.
No, actually, I don't know. Actually, I'm confused. Yeah, I think that's me.
Yeah, that's you. All right, awesome. So that's Preeti. So Preeti, we have a number of people that are joining and that are also going to be watching on recording. They're from PwC, and I think it would have been lovely for them to just hear from you what your concern was, where you were inside of your career, and how this experience probably supported you in anything from team building to self-expression and your confidence overall. So. Why don't we start with what were your initial, say, inhibitions when you signed up to it last time?
Yeah, so this was back in 2014, was it? Yeah, I think at that stage I'd done just over a year at PwC, and I was
So,
quite keen
one
to.
second, Preeti. I think Rocky, there's some background noise. Could you just check if you're on mute? All right, got it. Okay, sorry, Preeti, go on.
And I was quite keen to experience something new, a challenge, something outside of my comfort zone.
Yeah.
And I saw this flyer at PwC that was sent around. I just happened to see it. And I got in contact with a couple of the guys who were doing the hike. And I think my biggest inhibition wasn't me doing the actual climb, because I'd heard that it was generally quite feasible as far as climbing mountains go.
Yeah.
But one of my biggest inhibitions was actually the fact that I didn't know anyone who was doing the hike. I literally knew not a single person.
Yeah.
And that was my biggest fear, because I guess I was concerned that if I didn't make it and I get stuck on the mountain, what's going to happen to me? Am I just going to be abandoned?
Yeah.
It ended up that I managed to get my future boyfriend, who was my friend at the time, to climb with me. But I actually realize now in hindsight that that wasn't a worry at all, because when you climb the mountain, you become a team and you become a family almost. And the the way you get on with people and the environment and the vibe, it's just so phenomenal. And it was such a silly worry of mine. Everyone is so supportive of each other that it's not a concern.
Oh, that's
Really, it was.
yeah, no,
Sorry.
that's awesome to hear, and I like really, really relate to that. Like one of my presumptions at that time or prejudice at the time was, I don't know who's joining from what walks of life, how professional they are, how proper they are, how they like things to be ordered, how timely we need to be. So how I would personally participate on the mountain was also equally a concern for me. So really lovely to hear that from you. And the added point that you said that the person you invited was a friend of yours, and now you guys are in this romantic relationship. Is that so, Pretty?
Yes, Ronak. Yeah, so he was a friend of mine for about a year. We joined PwC at the same time, and I managed to rope him into it. And yeah, we've been going out for nearly 2 years now, so
Oh wow!
pretty strong relationship.
Just hoping there were no company policies breached there, and just glad to know that this
No,
mountain
no.
was, having climax in more ways than one. So lovely to hear.
Oh God. But no, it was a good experience. I mean, I got to know obviously my friend a lot better, but also just I got to meet a lot of people through this who I'm still really good friends with today, and
Yeah.
a whole cohort of people, a lot of Kiwis, for example, who I just never would have interacted with before, and
Yeah.
it just opened a lot of avenues, which was great. It was really eye-opening.
Yeah, that is so awesome to hear. I think what was also lovely and what I experience now is that we were all people from very different places, different countries, different backgrounds, and we really, really formed a phenomenal bond on the mountain. I think till today we continue to stay in touch. We participate in each other's parties or engagements or weddings or whatever it is, and we're often always there for each other. So I think it was just about a month ago we celebrated our 3-year anniversary, and it is really something when we look back and see what we managed to do. And one thing I also think is that one thing great is that I guess as we all grow and we get married and we have kids and we have children, our responsibilities, and somewhat depending on how we manage our time and our family structures at home, can be more restrictive over time, as we become more family men. And so I'm really grateful and supportive in my case that I can get to go again, where my wife is there with our baby, is going to be taking care of our baby while I go and do this climb. But equally, that's something for a lot of you that are considering doing it, to look at, that we are at this, whether you are at a point whether you're in a family or not, and if you have a good support structure to allow you to go, I would really take advantage of that and do it, because these moments will pass. And if you're not, then it's also a lot more of an opportunity for you to go and meet new people, and like Preeti, maybe you will find that family on the mountain. So Preeti, anything else? What would you say you learned from the mountain? What do you think altered after the climb that you could apply personally and professionally in life?
I mean, I think before I was a bit introverted, in the sense that I didn't try anything new. I wasn't that confident with socializing outside of my own friends. But after doing Kili, it's just it opened up a lot of new avenues. I've met so many more people. I've tried so many more like challenges. Like I went on the FITBANKER challenge too and lost probably almost over a stone. And I just I'm a lot more open to new adventures. So I'm looking at doing Machu Picchu or doing Base Camp Everest, and I just think I'm so much more outgoing and up for different challenges than I was before, and just not as scared about it.
Yeah, awesome.
So I think it was a great experience, life changing. Honestly, the climbing Kili was life changing.
Awesome. It's lovely to hear that, and I say this to everyone. It is the single most beautiful thing I've done in my life with my clothes on. It is honestly the best thing. It's probably this and witnessing the birth of my boy, but it is definitely up there, and it's something which there isn't a price tag I can attach to this experience. And the number of tales and conversations about every day on the mountain and what we learned from just discovering human beings on a mountain, I could go on for life with my family for generations and friends. So, Preeti, thanks so much for sharing that. I'm going to now continue as we go through. Feel free to stick on if you want to see a bit, and if you want to go down memory lane and see what we covered on this mountain. But if there are any other questions, actually, before Preeti's joined for a short while, she may have to leave early. Are there any questions from anybody joining for Preeti? If you have any questions, simply unmute yourself or raise your hand. Okay. All right. If there are no questions, if anything else does come up to mind, feel free to chime in as we progress through. And Preeti, are you there?
Yep, I'm here.
Yeah. Okay. So if you do need to go, feel free. Otherwise, stick around, and we'll be going through some of the photos of that route, and it will be a great walk down memory lane.
Okay, great. Well, good luck all if I don't happen to hear from you.
All right. Okay. Thanks, Preeti. Okay.
Bye.
All right. Bye. All right, guys. So here's a bit as well of what else we've done. So I want to very quickly go over some of the other adventures we've done and parts of what we did. So this is in 2013, 2014. It's a group we went kayaking in open sea in New Zealand. Hey, guys, there's a couple of you unmuted. If you could please mute yourself. And this was open sea kayaking that we did to a little volcanic mountain in New Zealand called Rangitoto, and then kayaked across the sea, summited it, and went down. And this conversation was a group of people that said, no, we can't, never done a kayak. In fact, that was my first time in a kayak, and we were able to do it. It was bloody good physical and mental push, but it was just, I really got connected to this whole ethos of living life quite in the moment, and really that there's anything that any other person can do so can I. Nobody was born being trained to climb mountains or being trained to kayak or being trained to participate in a host of activities that I wasn't. You know, growing up in Zambia, I felt I grew up, adopted a lot of limiting points of views that there's a lot out there that I cannot do, simply because I never had the opportunity to. And that so wasn't true. This is last year, 2016, we took, this is a Paralympian. He just returned from Brazil, Rio Paralympics. And 3 or 4 days later, we got him to join us on Tough Mudder. Tough Mudder is a grueling, about between 10 to 12 mile obstacle course. And we took him on wheelchair, and it was one of the most epic experiences. This guy's paralyzed from T4 in his spine downwards. So you can see him here. Basically, from his solar plexus upwards is what he can sense and feel. But he was able to do this challenge. It's called the monkey bars. And from here, if he falls down into a big pool of water. And it really, really, again, is a demonstration of how phenomenal human beings are. We signed up as about 3 or 4 people that were going to be around him to do this. When we got there, we had built an army on the day of about 15 to 20 people. And it was one of the fastest Tough Mudders that we've done. Relatively fast for somebody in a wheelchair, which was faster than Tough Mudder that I've done with people on foot that can run. Really, really impressive what happens when human beings come together. So, you know, that's our commitment, is to really get people out of their comfort zone and really get them into these amazing experiences. So let's have a look at the climb. This is an epic photo and view from one of the days on the climb. If you ever wondered what Mars looks like, I think it looks like this. So if you ever wonder what the moon looks like, I think it would look like this. We will go through some 5 amazing terrains as we go through this climb. You start off in a tropical rainforest, from very long creepers hanging down around you as we walk through the path, and very humid and dense and 30-something or mid-30s temperature, to by that night we've traversed and we've entered into savanna climate. And we go on through each of the days. So I'm going to go through that. As mentioned, we're going to about 6 kilometers vertical height, but we walk about between 62 to 80 kilometers, depending on the route. On any one day, we will walk something from as little as 5 kilometers and an average of about, say, 10 kilometers a day, or 10 to 12 kilometers a day. But on summit day, we will do 17 kilometers. That's a pretty long day. And so we need to prepare people emotionally and mentally for what that entails. The average walk time with altitude is 5 kilometers here. When I walk along the Thames, it's very different. That will take me, I don't know, 45, 50 minutes or an hour to walk 5 kilometers. Whereas on the mountain, that could take anything from 5 hours. And on summit day, we could be on the move for up to about 16 hours. We provide, included in the program, and the price is 3 nights of B&B. So there's accommodation at base and breakfast. Lunch and supper, we'll be either eating out in restaurants or ordering in, but they cost about, $10 a meal or so. Climate is, like I said, 5 terrains, and we'll go from sweltering mid-30 degrees up to -20 on summit day. So at summit, we will go up to -20, and that's where I got to do ice bucket challenge. I'll talk about that a bit later. Equipment and gear, there's what you need before the climb for training. So we recommend you buy certain things definitely as soon as possible. We should be buying everything by now. We're 7 weeks away. On the climb, you're going to require, there's tents, there's going to be, setup tents, there's going to be additional chemical toilets that we're carrying. There'll be a shower, which the brave can use only up to about day 3. There will be guides, there'll be staff, there'll be chefs, there'll be waiters. And so there's a ratio of about 2 to 2.5 per 1 climber. So for 25 climbers, we will have about 75 people in total. So it's a pretty big military operation to get that amount of people up, carrying equipment, carrying gear. You just need to carry, for you to go from here to the mountains, 1 duffel bag, about a 60-liter size duffel bag, which has your 6 or 7 days change of clothes and other stuff you need. And then on a daily basis, you carry your backpack, which we recommend a 35-liter backpack. And in there, you will carry what you need, your layers for the day, your water, your snacks, and any change of shoes if need be. But primarily, it's your layers and water and snacks. And we will talk all about this. We provide you the full list of everything that you need to buy. And The sooner you buy them, the better, because winter is approaching in the northern hemisphere. And so what's happening is a lot of this price, the sales that were on during the summer, and we bought a lot of stuff cheap, they're now ending, and people are having to pay full price for a lot of them. And on day 8 is all about gratitude and reflection, and we'll really get connected to the climbers along this climb, the guides that will take us up there, and the porters. And we will go to a village where they come from and see the work being done there. And we'll really get a sense and appreciation of what life there feels like. And it's something where we just are not present to. And many of us who may have been to Africa before or come from there, we very easily will get to see the touristic side of it. But here we really want you to now, these people that you do the climb with will really become your friends, your brothers, your family over those 7 days. They're absolute lifesavers. And you get to see where they come from, and we get to see their village. So there are a number of routes to get to the top, but all roads lead to Uhuru Peak. And I will tell you, the one we're doing is called Machame route. So we're going to start off from 1800 in Machame village, and that night we will sleep at 3000 altitude. We'll then, the next day, we will start in the morning on day 2, and we will literally be above the clouds. I'll show you a photo of what that means by above the clouds. And we will sleep and camp at 3800. On that day, people are still smiling. We can still kick a ball around. We will still have jokes and pranks. Then on the next day is a big push. We go up to 4600. Now, we're crossing a threshold here in altitude, which really requires our bodies getting acclimatized to. We go to Lava Tower, is a place where we have lunch. And over there, I can tell you, it was very physically and mentally challenging for many. At this point, a number of people, a couple people threw up. A lot of us were very good. So I don't want you to take away from this webinar the risks of it. I want you to take that the majority did it. The majority was successful, but a few people were slightly challenged there. Nonetheless, with right nutrition, right rest, right hydration, we were able to help that. And they came back. We came back down that day, and we spent the night at 3900 altitude. So literally on that day, we traversed across the ring of the mountain, and we ended up only 100 meters higher. That night, we sleep in front of this big wall in front of us called Barranco Wall, and we get to cross and climb that wall. I'll show you some photos of what happens on that wall. And then after that, we sleep on the other side of the wall at a camp called Karanga Camp, which is another 100-meter altitude. So you can see from day 2, 3, and 4, we're only actually going net up by about 100 meters in altitude. Then on day 5, we go up to Barafu. Day 4, we go up to Barafu, and we sleep at 4600. And on the 5th day, or the midnight of the 5th, early morning, we start walking through the night to get to Uhuru Peak, 5895. That evening, we get there, and then we come back to Barafu. We have lunch at 4600. We don't sleep there, and we're very tired. We're very spent. But this is where you distinguish that you can keep going regardless of how you feel physically. We've got to have this mental fortitude, and we're going to keep going further down till we get down to Shira Camp. Mweka Camp. And then from Mweka Camp, we spend the final night there, and we come down to Mweka Village the next day. And that next day is the definition of feeling ecstatic, is what we experience. This is another view of what that route looks like. And as we get to the top, that rim on the top, you get to see this mountain jutting out above the clouds called Mawenzi. This is a photo from there, which is, it's really beautiful. Like, you're standing somewhere and you can see for miles in the world, every direction you look around you, there's just blankets of clouds. So I want you to consider like you're in a plane, but you're getting to sit and stand there and take it in still with no pressurized tube around you. You just get to get fresh air in. And it is just a phenomenal, phenomenal experience. Your eyes really need to suck in as much as they can over this journey. So here's some pics from the last one. That's Preeti. This is what Preeti looked like in 2014. And she has, as she mentioned, she's transformed quite a bit, lost a stone plus in our challenge. And there's a number of other people. So this is at the gate as we enter. This is us registering and signing what we're signing up to. So there's people from all over the world. This guy's from the US. That guy was from Slovenia. Daksha Sunil, who's standing here, he's the guy that created or launched the project last time that I was part of his team. His wife Daksha there, and a group of other people. So this is what people look like when they're smiling before they've taken on this mountain, not knowing what lies ahead. So it's very easy to get a smile out of people before we take on the mountain. And then we're going here. All our porters and guides need to get their luggage weighed in to make sure there's no excess being carried. And we also work with a company that ensures that the porters and guides aren't being abused or overloaded with stuff, because sometimes their personal health and safety isn't factored in or considered by a lot of the climbers that take people up. This is the first camp. So you can see from a tropical desert, tropical forest, it's changed into this kind of savanna where the coniferous trees and all are showing up. Following morning, every morning we get woken up by one of the team. The waiters would wake us up with a little, knock knock or buzz at our tent, and we open it, and they bring us a nice hot cup of chocolate or coffee or tea to get us woken right up that morning. We then start our climb, and after we've had our breakfast, we start climbing. We then leave the people behind us who are packing up the tents and all the chairs and everything, and then they suddenly overtake us. They're really quick, these porters and guides who've done this for many years, and they literally zip past. So here's us having to move to one side for them to carry on taking the luggage up ahead. This is what I was saying earlier about you'll be literally above the clouds. It's such a beautiful experience above this blanket of clouds. A camera, photos will never really be able to put in how dimensional that view is. But we'll have to go with it for now. There's Preeti again. It's brilliant that Preeti joined of all the participants, because she's really featuring in these photos like a star, or maybe she's just a natural model. Hey, Preeti.
Goodness.
So this is us where we are now. This is 3 days in, and behind there, that peak is called Kibo Peak. It was a funny thing because one of the guys, we'd got this far, it was very taxing already, and he asked, "Are we on the mountain yet?" Which was really funny, because we've been doing it, and there are parts of the mountain where you think you're in open savanna grassland and you can't see anything for miles, so you forget you're on a mountain. You think you're just somewhere in an open game park. This is a number of the other participants there. So we're doing these morning stretches and yoga and some breathing exercises. It's something which our tour operator says we did very unique, and he says also may have contributed to our success rate. We also did some other mental questions at the end of each day to focus on gratitude that really altered our experience. Our experience of any day is more about the perception than the reality, and the perception is our best representation of how we pile up and accumulate all that occurred in the day, whether it's overwhelm, whether it was pain that wasn't really pain, but we magnified it as such. That little tent in the background is how the portable toilets or showers will be. We only showered day 3, and then it gets too cold. Many didn't even, so you can use wet wipes throughout. This used to be a volcano, so you can see a lot of the rock in per se looks volcanic in nature, but you also have these creepers that grow on it that kind of look like lava. So I thought it was very interesting. This is more of parts of the mountain. There's also beautiful rivers and streams, and this used to be very pure water, which is from the melting glaciers at the top and was drinkable. Now a lot of the guys say that it's not so drinkable because there might be people along the mountain that take a pee, and as a result there could be some pollution inside of this water. But that said, it is still really beautiful. I would probably dare to even drink it. There's some amazing fauna there, very unique plants that we get to see. This is me and my wife, and beautiful colors that are out there. It's just unbelievable. In the middle of nowhere, where it looks like it's very barren rock moon type environment, you have a lot of these beautiful amazing plants. So really scenic, epic experience. You're walking through the clouds. This is us through a cloud, and we're looking ahead at that mount. What looks like a mountain in the background is actually a wall, and we're going to climb that wall the following morning. So we're approaching there on day 3 night. We're going to camp at base, and we know tomorrow we have to take on that wall. This is what the wall, taking on the wall, looks like. So you can get past it with 2 limbs or maximum 3 limbs at some point. The porters do it even carrying something on their heads. I wouldn't call this easy, and if anyone is per se scared about heights, this isn't something where there's a long drop per se. It's something where you'll be supported, you'll have a number of people around you, so it's not one of those where you could have a bad fall, but it is something where you're going to have to stretch yourself. Some people overstretch, and that's what happens. So this is one of the guys, Chirag.
I think it's one of the it's one of the funnest days, actually.
Yeah, Barranco is really a great day because you really it's fun accomplishing that, right? When we how our brains work, for those of you that are into neuroscience, is when the brain experiences accomplishment, it releases dopamine. And dopamine is the feeling that we also have when we have loads of sugar or when we have cocaine. But here you get to get that dopamine release naturally without a negative detrimental effect to our health. So just covering this itself is a big confidence boost, and then thereafter it's not as there isn't any technical climbing per se. This is reaching Barafu Hut. Barafu comes from the Hindi or Gujarati word called baraf, which means ice, and it's in now a word in Swahili which means the same, snow or ice. And this is usually very snowed up or iced, and it wasn't so much so. We had good weather. This November we may have slightly different weather, but we're timing it such that we will just we'll miss or finish the short rains. There might be some rain, wind, and snow, but that is all part of the experience. And as the saying goes, there's no such thing as bad weather, only inappropriate clothing. So so long we bring all the gear that we recommend, you will have a phenomenal experience. This is looking at Mawenzi, that's jutting out above the clouds. This is as we're summiting. We've been walking through the night and the sun just came out, and I took this photo, and it is one phenomenal epic experience. You literally are looking at the edge of the world, and many of us living in our built-up urban areas, we can't see the edge of the world anymore unless we're at the top of the Shard building. But here you really do get to see it, and you do get to really just get present to and get connected to this beautiful earth and piece of world that we're on. This is us approaching what we think is, wow, we've made it to the top. So the top of this ice and snow here, you think this is the top, we're almost getting there. And you see this white snow, it's actually glowing in our eyes as the sun has come out. This is looking down. I don't think there was any effects on my phone, but it's a very white glow that's there. So it's a lot of exposure came into this snap. But this is us looking down, the crew coming up and waiting for everyone to get to the top so we're not too far apart. This is the first summit, or the first point called Stella Point of the Rim. And this one is at 5,756. So we're talking of 140 meters from the final summit. So this is where the 21 out of 22 reached, and the next final summit, 20 out of the 22 reached. But when people reach here, you can see people have dropped there. They sat there in the background along this post, really tired. And the guides are phenomenal people. They're just there. They're waiting for you. They're encouraging you. This is a guy who signed up 4 weeks before. I was out partying with him. We had a bit of alcohol. Let's just say under the influence, he signed up to this program. He had a bit of a flu and a cold on day one. He was a bit grumpy about it. And on this day, I think he had reached this point, and he's like, why on earth did I sign up to this? That said, it was one of his best experiences. He loved it thereafter. This is us walking to the final summit. What you can't see in the background there, this white big blob, is actually a big, massive glacier. It's like it's a mammoth piece of ice, so it's really worth experiencing. This is the final summit, and this is where you want to do your country proud. This is where us from Zambia, we took our Zambia gear, our flag, and our hats, and all that, and we got our photos there for life. This was our youngest guy, 18-year-old, and that was me at 100 kilos, right? So I wasn't in any means fit, and many of you listening or watching might be thinking or concerned about how fit you need to be, but that was me, still very overweight, and so I'm going back this time 20-something, 30 kilos, almost 30 kilos lighter than when I did it last time. So it'll be an interesting experience to see how it goes. It would be even more embarrassing if I don't get to summit this time, and I summited it when I was a big guy. So that'll be something for me to research after. And this is a group of them. This is the last group of girls that I think joined. Not sure if Preeti is here. No, Preeti is not here. But she was the last one that came, I think, and summited. And when we get down, it is the definition of feeling ecstatic. There's a big, what we call a tipping dance ceremony. So these guys are doing this big dance, and we captured photos of that dance and videos, and it was awesome. A lot of high energy. As soon as you come down the mountain, there's a lot of people that would love to clean your shoes and make them look grand, and it's just an awesome, epic experience of what you've just accomplished. Back at the lodge we're staying at, they got a lovely pool. We all get to go and jump in for a swim that evening, and that night we invited the porters and guides to come over, and we had a few drinks with them. It was really, really, really epic experience. And so many of you might be thinking, can I do it? How fit do I need to be? How young do I need to be? How old do I need to be? Well, here's the lady that did it recently. This was last year. She did it, 86 years old, Russian lady. You can see her description there at the bottom, where she basically says it was extremely hard. Many people have said that, and many people compare climbing Kilimanjaro as hard as giving birth. And my wife, who's done both, can also attest to that. But that said, it is very doable. All our mums gave birth to us, and I think all our mums can actually do Kilimanjaro. So who can climb it? Yeah, the recommended age limit is 10, but I'm hoping to go there with my boy maybe when he's 5 or 7. We'll see, and see if we can boost his confidence then. Fitness levels is, like I said, more painful than childbirth. You can get anyone from marathon runners or Olympians doing this to people in their 60s, 70s, and 80s. I've seen doing it, and you will see a lot of people that physically you might think, wow, is this person going to make it? Judgment might creep into your mind based on either their size, their appearance, their age. But I tell you, anyone can do this, because this has got more to do with mental fortitude than physical strength. A lot of websites, interestingly, recommend 2 months to train. We took about 6 or 7 months of mentally and physically being ready for what we're signing up to. We had monthly treks. Between now and our actual climb, we've got 2 more treks happening for those in the UK, 2 big ones. But every weekend between now and actual climb, we recommend anyone that's signing up now get into the routine of walking at least 10 to 15 kilometers every weekend, at least 10. There's going to be a lot of mental versus physical fitness of what's required for this mountain, right? Really, really, you will find out when your body is physically spent and you think you cannot do it, you will be surprised what comes thereafter. Okay. Sorry, I just noticed that the Zoom call ended. I'm just going to get back on there for... Bear with me, just making sure that the US participants get to join. Okay, so anyway, there's an interesting statistic that if you're uber fit, that you don't get to summit, because when you're fit, what people tend to do is they tend to walk ahead of the pack. They tend to rush. They tend to be competitive. And this might be their inherent nature. A very famous one is, I forget her first name. Is it Maria, or what's her name? The Navratilova, the tennis player. She recently did Kilimanjaro and she wasn't able to summit. And she started going way ahead. So when you talk about you doing Kilimanjaro, you can say, well, I did, but Navratilova didn't. Rocky, have we got you back?
Yep, I'm back.
All right, awesome. So just talking about the fitter you are, the greater the chance of summit, but not necessarily the fittest summited. And a classic example is the tennis player Navratilova, who recently went to do Kilimanjaro, and she didn't get to summit because people that are quite fit are also quite athletic, and Olympians are subconsciously competitive. So there were many days she would try to rush ahead and get ahead and be ahead of the pack. And a saying on the mountain is pole pole, which means slowly, slowly in Swahili. And as a result of her rushing, she didn't acclimatize with altitude, and she was unable to summit. She had to be brought down. I don't know if she's since reattempted it, but whether she reattempts it or not, you'll be able to say, I did it if you get to summit. And Navratilova didn't. And many, many top athletes don't get to. In fact, the statistic is males between 27 and 35, athletic males, are the ones often that don't summit. They can get on the mountain, but they may not summit because of that lack of acclimatization. We're going to have a number of medical checks daily. We'll check in on how you're feeling. There's some cards we'll complete. There will be an oxygen meter that we'll have. And we really do all this and want everyone to check in so we know how you're feeling and how you're doing. We check in on you every night, every morning before we start. And we're going to really provide a lot of mental and emotional coaching along the way. The day before the climb, when everyone arrives, everyone needs to arrive either 16th or 17th morning. That afternoon, we're going to have a 2 to 3 hour session where we're going to walk through what to expect in terms of emotions on the mountain, get to understand and connect with each other, and really, really discover the power of the human body. You could have altitude sickness. There's a number of people that we will have some medication, but you don't need to take it only until when the lead mountain guide recommends you take it. Cerebral edema is something that people can get, which is like swelling of the brain. And when you get that, you'll kind of know, and we can at any point in time get you down the mountain to a point where an ambulance can reach within an hour and a half to 4 hours. So there is a very, very high success rate for this mountain. It's not an easy one. It's not a technical climb, but equally there are some risks which I don't want to step over. So why would you want to do it with us? Why would you want to join this opportunity? Is firstly, as FITBANKER, as a brand, and as a first one that we're doing, we really want this to be one life transforming experience for anyone and everyone. So we're not doing it just as a climb. We really wanted this to be distinct. You can sign up to join any charity just for the climb. You may not know people, you may not connect, you may not join. We really want to create something for all those people. What I discovered from the 2014 climb that we did is that we formed this phenomenal bond where today, if I need advice or something in an area or access to some resources from one of the other team, I can tap on them. If somebody wants to speak to me about their career, about mentoring, about relationships, they know they can turn to me, right? I get to be that role for people that joined us on the last climb, and vice versa. They get to be for me, whether I need help in areas of business or networking or social events. They would really be there to support us. Making a difference, right? We're doing this for 2 charities, and they're great charities, and we'll get to see the work that Moving Mountains is doing by going to visit the school, the village that we are fundraising for. We provide support. We add you to a WhatsApp group once you've joined, once you've signed up, where others are. Any questions you have around nutrition, around training, the treks that we're creating for the UK folk, you can do. We have 5 people coming from Zambia. We have 1 from Switzerland, 1 from Spain. We have some tentative from the US, and we have a number of us, 8, 9 from the UK that are coming on this. So also in terms of purchases of equipment and clothing that you require.
I've got a question.
Yeah.
Ronnie, I've got a question around fundraising.
Yeah.
So are we like, for all the people that are registered to climb Kili and all the people that are going to register between now and the climb, are we fundraising as a whole collective, or how is that going to work?
Yeah, we are. The charities prefer that we all have our individual fundraising page, because that generally works better for them, because they have a criteria when people sign up to run a marathon for them, as example on the name, that those people will individually say go and fundraise a target of 1,000 or 1,500. But we think that if we, because we hadn't created that as part of the sign-up process, because it's not a requirement that for you to join the Leadership Summit, you have to commit to fundraising X, we don't want to impose that on people. We do want to encourage people to really authentically fundraise a recommended target of about £1,500 individually, but we do have 1 page and we do have 1 link. So Ambika has set that up, and we were just checking 1 or 2 final things with the charities, but it is now set up, and we're now able to start fundraising. So it's going to be 1 page for the group, and each of you have to authentically and individually look at, these are my friends, this is my community. I want to ask them to contribute, and go out of your way too, because this is going to possibly be your biggest fundraiser in your life. It was for us in many ways. What we were able to raise for doing this last time, it's going to be hard to top that. So I'm doing this again. It's also a challenge on me to tap into my community to generously donate to these causes. So is that good? Any other question, Emma? Okay, you're on mute. I can't hear, but just wanted to add, if any of you guys joining from corporates, like last time we had PwC, we had people from Google, we had people from other corporates, marketing companies and tech companies and consulting companies. They gave a matching, they have matching programs for any of their employees that join to climb something like Kilimanjaro or doing fundraising events. And you might not know this, but inside of your organization, who you are and how you show up for them begins to shift and begins to alter when you say, hey, I'm doing Kilimanjaro. You're the guy that everyone knows they're fundraising for. You might have one day where you do a coffee or a get together to talk about this, or you might have a post-climb summary talk about what the experience was like, and any of the late contributors might want to donate then. But you had people who had their company match up to 4,000 donations or 3,000 donations or 7,000 donations. So it is really, really impressive what you discover of yourself, of your organization, how supportive your organization will be when you're doing something, because this, for many of your organizations, CEOs and senior management, senior leadership, is something they've wanted to do and never get to do in life because of the usual reasons in life around, I don't have the time, I'm too busy, I don't have the money, or I don't have permission or leave or whatever. And you get to interrupt that by being the person that demonstrates what's possible. So that's what we want you guys to get out of it, and discover how you alter the listening of you, the perception of you inside of your organizations. We've also negotiated discounts with some of the clothing and gear providers. The number one thing we recommend you do when you sign up is pay for it right now, pay for your flights, and start. The first thing you want to buy is your hiking boots. If you don't have hiking boots, buy those first, because you've got to break into those, and then buy the gear as soon as possible. So we do not only have a short while, 7 weeks, and you can do it. We've had people, like I mentioned last time, who signed up 4 weeks prior, and they only started training about a week or two before. The guy that I said joined me from Nairobi, he was able to do it. And I recommend that all of you guys don't take this lightly, but don't be concerned or hesitate about the time left to do it. So cost, as mentioned, is $2,500. What's included in that? The tents, the facilities, the guides, the 3 nights B&B at base, all the meals on the climb. We cater for vegetarian, vegan, gluten-free, lactose intolerant. Whatever your nutrition concerns are, you let us know. We're going to try and make the food as FITBANKER approved as possible. So there's not going to be a lot of junk on the mountain. We're going to try to avoid sugar peaks and therefore sugar crashes, because that will impact people's energy, and they will be feeling fatigued when they really aren't, but it will just be a sugar crash. So we're going to coach you a bit about this on the mountain. We're going to coach you on the power of being hydrated, like one of the biggest contributors to success. The local treks that we have in the UK, we've got 2 more between now and the climb. We'll provide you the gear and equipment list, FITBANKER t-shirts, obviously for everyone that signs up for your training or for summit. What's not included, you got to buy your own clothing, of course. Any snacks that you want to carry, like bars to have along the way. Your flight, you got to book there. This is a very interesting fact. There's a number of people, we booked our flights in April. We paid £395. 2 months later, the price went up. People paid £450. Surprisingly, the airline we use in Kenya Airways has slashed prices, and they're now the same route. I think somebody saw it for £393. So it's unbelievable. But it's also got to do with why we chose this time of year, is that people can get a good price on flights, and so your overall budget actually works out better. You might find that when you do it any other time of year, flights will be more. So you might find that, oh, I can do this climb here for less, but I pay more on flights, and you also get a substandard service. There's also going to be tips. We say recommended everyone to bring £80 in cash for tips for the guys, but I can tell you, after the experience of this mountain, we had people that loved, almost worshipped the guides that we had. So there were people giving like $100, $150 tips because they were just ecstatic and elated from what they accomplished. They fell in love to these mountain guides. It was just an amazing experience. They will really be your brothers. They will be the person that literally will save your life multiple times on this mountain when you're struggling most. They will swoop in and take a bag off your back, or they will hold your arm and they will carry you through a piece where they see you're struggling. There's also an optional safari that we're going on, as you know. If you're doing Kilimanjaro, the safari is $1,350. If you're not doing Kilimanjaro and you still want to join the safari, you can, and I think that's $1,600 if you're just doing the safari. So this is a snippet into a look of what we're doing. If you've never been to Africa, I would invite you to do what you can to join us for this. And if you cannot, if you're only doing Kilimanjaro, then join us for Kilimanjaro. But it's an optional thing to join us for. This is one of the lodges in the Serengeti. It's called Kati Kati Lodge. So we'll be staying in these lovely tented glamping type places. There's a chef that will cater for and cook whatever we want and require. We're going to have some walking treks. We're going to have some driving treks through the game park. This is in Ngorongoro Lodge. So again, by the way, this invite is open to you, Preeti, and anyone from PwC. If you think I'm not physically ready for Kili, or not doing Kili again as an example, but you may want to join the safari, this is very much an option for you. This is a hotel and lodge that we're staying along the rim of the Ngorongoro crater. Very, very unique experience. And this is one of the top hotels called Serena Lodge. You can see the building along the rim. And looking out, we have these balconies from the rooms and from the dining hall where we get to look into the crater. It will be an experience you will hold and treasure for life, for years to come. And I cannot emphasize enough how much we've put together as a team to bring this. And also, there's a total non-compromise on quality. So we are making sure that there is everything is at the right level of standard, that everyone gets left with what a phenomenal experience this is. This is going to be the safari trucks that we have, the Land Cruisers, and they're open top as well. So it will be a really awesome experience as we go to see the game park. We may, because of the rains just finishing, we may experience the migration, which is something people pay a lot of money and travel to go and see, which happens as the animals migrate from Kenya to Tanzania in the Serengeti. So hopefully we might be able to see that. If we do, we're lucky. If we don't, we'll still have a phenomenal chance to see the big five. That said, I want you guys to be left with this. I invite you again to really consider this. If you want to have one more call or conversation with me, reach out to me directly. You have our email address. You can go to our page at the bottom, fitbanker.com/Kili. Reach out to us on Facebook. And I want you to remember this. You will look back on this moment and this period of 2017, or whatever you wrote down as your New Year's resolutions for 2017. On December, when you put on Facebook what you've accomplished in the year, you'll be proud to say that this was one of those that you did. Because in the end, you won't remember the time you spent working in the office, your night shifts in the hospital, or mowing the lawn. Climb that goddamn mountain. It's a beautiful quote by Jack Kerouac. So thanks all for being on. Are there any final questions or comments, guys?
Hi, Ronnie. Thanks so much for the webinar. And just to let you know, Louis is going to join us in 3 years' time.
Awesome. Louis, Kanea, you, me, Tom, let's do this.
He's been listening to the webinar.
Lovely, lovely, Louis. It's awesome. We would love to have you on, and it will be a beautiful experience for you to share with your school friends and tell them that you did Mount Kilimanjaro. It's a beautiful, beautiful, tall mountain in Africa. Anyone else? Any questions? Rakesh, Reshma?
Hey, Ronnie, when you guys last traveled there from UK with the UK passport, did you guys have to apply for visas?
Yeah, you will need a visa if you get it from what passport are you? Are you Zambian or American?
US citizen for both me and Reshma.
Yeah, so you will need that. Emma, can you confirm on the message I sent whether US applies? For UK passport holders, they do need it, and it's $50 if you. I don't know how it works in the US, but here it's a walk-in service. You can walk into the embassy. Only the Tanzanian embassy, not all of them do it, but the Tanzanian one is a walk-in service for visas, and it's $50 for a visa, and you can also get one on arrival. So if you don't want to go, you get it on arrival. It's between $80 and $100. I think it's $100 when you land, so you can get it at the airport when you arrive there. Yeah, so the answer is yes. You can get them on arrival, and you can save $50 if you do it in advance.
Okay, perfect. Thank you, man. The other question, you did speak a little bit about the oxygen changes as we acclimate up to the summit, and obviously there's going to be different types of breathing patterns. I'm just curious, on your last trip, what was the lowest oxygen measurement that you guys in your group were able to receive using that pulse ox?
Yeah, so as somebody in medicine, you know the oximeter that we put on our fingers, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's what we had. We have one of those to check with everyone. And what we do is we have a card, which is in the fitness world, there's what we call RPE, or rate of perceived exertion. But there are various questions. Similarly, we ask you to rank on a scale of 1 to 5. And we check that on a daily basis, from migraines to headaches to fatigue to various other physical and mental questions, as well as your oxygen level. We would also have other equipment like BP, and we would also have not always there, but it is the company has them, so I'm not sure whether they always carry them or they get brought up on a needs basis. Oxygen tanks, if need be. That's seldom needed for the altitude of Kilimanjaro. Very, very seldom needed. But the lowest we've had is most people were in the 90s. So from the high 90s coming down to 91 and 92. The one lady that went down, her oxygen level came down to 89 or 87. And it was quite visibly demonstrated in her. She was crying with bad migraines. And another thing that happens with altitude, and there is a very, very, very funny story I will share when people sign up, what happened to me and my memory on this mountain, involving all the tipping money that I was holding on to from the whole group, is you tend to forget a few things. And so what happens is, she was with the low oxygen. She was, she felt like a bit delusional, right? So she was forgetting where her tent was and stuff like that. And so at that point, we made a call for her to return down. And she's also a medical professional. She was a nurse herself. And ultimately, we asked her what would she do if a patient was feeling the way she was, and she made the call to go down. I personally would have wanted to talk her into some mind coaching to get her past that hurdle, but I wasn't allowed to do that, where the lead mountain guide said he has final responsibility, and that's going to be the case again this time. I believe everyone can do it, because this has got to do with the mind, and I can coach you through a conversation, through any pain point of yours. But ultimately, when it comes to the mountain, the person that's responsible for life form is the lead mountain guide, and I'm going to respect that. But yeah, 89 or 87 was the lowest, and there may have been others in the 80s, late 80s, but they still were able to carry on. And it all comes down to things like hydration. If you're not hydrating, that will show up.
All right. Thank you for that information.
Okay, cool. Anything else?
I've just left the house, so Reshma is online. Reshma, do you have any questions for Ronnie? If anything, Ronnie will reach out to you individually.
Yeah.
Thanks for hosting.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Excellent. So thanks so much for being on, guys. And you guys are joining in the US. What time is it there?
6:28 a.m.
Oh, amazing, guys. Thank you so much for that. Really, really awesome. And just thank you for your commitment and your word and showing up. This is not the first time you guys have joined this time of the day. So I just want to acknowledge you for that. Any of you guys watching on recording, if you have any questions, please do reach out to us. We are a very human organization. We are real people behind the emails and the social media. And we love to get on a chat with you. We love to address your concerns, and an invite as well to just consider from Preeti's earlier shares, all her inhibitions are human inhibitions and concerns that she had, we all had, at various different levels of where we are societally, physically, mentally, spiritually. And ultimately on this mountain, you find all our qualifications, all our fitness certificates, all our backgrounds or lack of experiences in life. All gets left at the base of the mountain. It's one thing we say in our programs is leave your ego at the door. And to climb this mountain is going to be a real journey in self-discovery. We're going to really have to learn how to tap into the greater self by putting our ego or showing off or impressing or powering through aside, and just focus on being contributed to by the group, by being a contribution to the group. So really looking forward to having any and all of you join us on our leadership summit, and it will just be one amazing experience for you to share with your family, with your kids, and your friends. All right, guys, we're gonna love you and leave you now. Have an awesome weekend, and see you on the mountain. Bye for now. Bye, guys.
All right, see you later, Ronnie. Thanks for everything.
All right, bye.